Now here in the Mach E, we're driving Ford's latest version of BlueCruise, which is of course a hands-free driving system. This is version 1.3, which seems really fast because just a week ago we were on version 1.2 driving that with the F-150. But the development of Ford's BlueCruise system is not based on the vehicle, but its own life cycle. And then when it reaches the point where they're ready to roll out this new system, these new features, they basically look at what vehicles are coming out next and saying that that's the one that it will come out on first. So in this case, it was the Mustang Mach E. The 1.2 made its appearance in the F-150. And it's not to say that F-150 won't get 1.3, it's just gonna take a little bit longer. First, it'll come out on the cars that are hitting the road first. Then it'll go ahead and update on the other vehicles. And then, because there's enough of a difference between a Mustang Mach E and a Ford F-150 and Ford Explorer and every other vehicle that has BlueCruise, including some of the vehicles in the Lincoln lineup, that they'll have to go ahead and recalibrate not just some of those cameras and sensors, but also how much braking force is applied to slow down at these different points. Here in 1.3, it is mostly an update to the current system, not an upgrade to brand new features. 1.2 got us lane positioning, and the biggest piece of lane positioning is actually moving to the opposite side of the lane that you were when a big vehicle passes by. Generally speaking, that's something like a semi-truck or maybe a very large bus. The other function that we got with 1.2 is the ability to change lanes with the tap of a turn signal. But because this is still a physical switch, when you turn the turn signal all the way down, like a lot of people do to change lanes, then you still have to go back and click the turn signal indicator again. But if you just tap it for a single touch, which generally blinks 3 times, in this case, it'll go ahead and stay on, change lanes, and then turn itself off. Very small things. But in 1.3, we're now getting some better controls in things like smaller lanes. We generally have pretty wide lanes here on the highway, and when things get a little bit tighter, that's when the system wants to disengage. And what we don't want is a system that's going to disengage, because that really breaks the whole purpose of it, which is to make life a whole lot easier. And that's really what they're trying to do, is make your road trip easier and your commute. But if you're constantly having to babysit this system and knowing that the lane gets a little bit tighter, or maybe you're going through a construction zone that's not an active construction zone, but things are currently under repair and everything has been adjusted, so temporary lane lines that are going to be smaller, this will handle those a whole lot better. Now, more importantly for something like the Mustang Mach E is going to be the ability to handle curves a little bit better, because if the vehicle sees that we are going into a curve at a tight angle and we are currently doing 60 or 70 miles an hour, it's going to, generally speaking, just go at that corner at the same speed. But here in 1.3, it's now going to do a little bit more math and say, hey, a human would not go into that turn at that speed, at least not most humans. And so what it's going to do is slow down to adjust to the speed that's going to be a little bit more comfortable for most folks. And overall, that's going to be a big plus. You won't see a whole lot of that happening here on the freeway because this is not a very sharp turn road. But as BlueCruise hits other more arterial lanes at other side roads, and maybe it's the canyon road that it can do at some point down the road, that's going to be a feature that we need a whole lot more. Now in this particular instance, we are on our way to a Tesla Supercharger because the highlight here really is road trips. So the fact that Ford is the first to be able to access the Supercharger network means that your road trips should be getting a whole lot easier in something like a Mach E. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and go to the nearest Supercharger, plug in, and then we'll head on back. Now we just pulled up here to the Tesla Supercharger, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and take that Ford adapter. We're going to slide that in right to the CCS port, and then we're going to go ahead and grab our Supercharger. All right, so Supercharger goes in, and we really should just be firing up and charging. Now I moved on over right next to that Supercharger. I can't tell if you'll be able to hear it whining or not, but it did go ahead and fire up and making that basically the fan noise, so you can hear that it's trying to keep itself cool. If we come here on the inside, we pulled in at about 38%, and already in just a few moments we're already up to 41, 42%. Now, unfortunately, here in the Ford charging screen, it doesn't tell you actually how fast it's charging, but I talked to some members of the Ford team, and if you had your Ford Pass, the mobile application, you would be able to go ahead and check at the charging speed. It's just unfortunate they don't have us here in front of us, because I'd love to be able to tell you exactly how fast we're charging. What I can tell you is that one of the changes Ford has made for 2024 is an increase in charge speed. And essentially, now that we have a longer range available to us in every model of Mustang Mach E available, we also have an increased charge speed and essentially a lower charge time. So we should be able to go 10% to 80% in approximately 36 minutes. And according to Ford, that's just under 9 minutes faster than the previous 10 to 80% time. Now that Ford not only has access to the Supercharger network, but an adapter that comes free with the purchase of the vehicle, vehicles like the Mustang Mach E with increased charging capabilities have gotten a lot easier to take on road trips, and especially to use as a single car. So with this charging at 150 kilowatts, using BlueCruise to get here, if you have to spend hours and hours behind the wheel, this has gotten a whole lot easier. But is that enough to make you consider something like a Mustang Mach E or even an electric vehicle for the first time? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to let us know, and we'll catch you in the next one.